Good evening, friends and followers of Western Cape Teachers Forum. I trust that everybody had a fantastic week thus far. Welcome to this edition or this extension of COVID Talks as we continue teaching teacher talks this evening as we educate through dialogue and through sharing information to empower ourselves with the knowledge that we gain through these discussions, and so that we can excel in our respective schools, positions where we find ourselves, all in an attempt to grow the sector from strength to strength. Tomorrow is Friday, and once again, thank you so much for all the schools that have made submissions in terms of the videos, the Feel Good Friday videos, the TikTok videos, the positive messages. We appreciate that. That will be scheduled to be published tomorrow at 10 and 11 o'clock. So watch out for that. If you haven't done so yet and you're still in the process of finalizing yours, please send it in, and we will most certainly share your content. All in an attempt to raise the morale and the spirits of our teachers during this time. Now, colleagues, tonight we are taking our conversation to the tertiary institution of Cape Peninsula University of Technology, and we are speaking to a lecturer at the Wellington campus. She is a lecturer in educational studies and teaching practice. She started her own YouTube channel called Education in Focus in May 2020 to discuss all issues relating to education. And her expertise lies in the area of teacher development and support provided to novice teachers. And so tonight, friends, we are chatting to Dr. Dorothy Esau. Dr. Esau, good evening to you.
Good evening, Lee, and thank you for having me on your channel.
Well, the pleasure is all mine. And just to I just want to get something straight. Am I calling you Auntie D or am I calling you Dr. Esau?
This is yours, Lee, but don't give away my age, please.
No. Let's stick to the formalities of Dr. Esau, and my apologies for not wearing a tie this evening. I wanted to look all officious, but I'm hoping you're gonna forgive me for that one.
Then you don't have the right person, eh? That's not me.
Okay, Dr. Esau, once again, thank you so much for joining us. And I've been on your platform a couple of weeks ago, and thank you once again for allowing me to come and share my little bit that I've gathered over the time. And so I appreciate that. So I thought it would be befitting just to extend the invitation to you to come and grace us with your experience that you've gained over the last couple of years in education. Now, for some of us who may not know who Dorothy Esau is, just a brief overview of who you are and what your journey was in education thus far.
Okay, I am mother to 2 adult sons. I am married, I don't know where's Henry, but I think it's 29 years this year. So yeah, I'm not in an entanglement at all. So happily married. And then, yes, I am people will know me as a very passionate person, and teaching is my life. I've obtained my higher education in commerce at the Pentec campus then in 1990. I then decided to do life as an adult. And 20 years later, after gaining a wealth of experience working in the private sector, and then also as an entrepreneur, I came back into teaching. If you're a teacher, something keeps tugging on you to come back. And so I came back into teaching in 2006. And I almost want to tell you the rest, as they say, is history. But yeah, I started my studies in 2010. And from there, I think you're going to ask me some more questions about that.
Fantastic. I like what you said earlier, that you were tugged back into the profession. It's almost like the passion called you back, and so thank you for coming back. We need passionate people like yourselves. Now, principal the other night, Mrs. Dawn Peterson from Golden Grove Primary School, she said the other evening that this is the worst time to be a principal of a school. How have your thoughts been transformed by the recent developments lately? Just very quickly.
Wow, I think as a personally and professionally, I have grown so much over this time. And I can tell you, because when I watched Miss Dawn Peterson the other night, I thought, you are such a brave woman, because I did my honors in management, and then I decided this is not for me. I think I wasn't brave enough to go into leadership. So I really, really take my hat off to our leaders, our school leaders, and yes, the teachers, obviously. But I don't envy them for, because I can almost say you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. So yeah, I've got a lot of respect for them. And so, yeah, but the past few months have been a huge learning curve for I think all of us, and also a wake-up call, because many of us have grown into that comfort zone where we wing it.
Yeah.
We wing it as teachers, and teachers know what I'm talking about. After 5 years, after 3 to 5 years, you just step into a classroom and you teach. Some of us don't even prepare. So I think that was a great wake-up call to suddenly have to change and adapt. And yeah, I just think I wouldn't want to say we needed this, but we needed a little bit of a wake-up call as to how things are done.
Yeah, I mean, it forced us to into a completely different space. Look at us here, connecting via Zoom. I didn't know Zoom existed about a couple of months ago, and yet here we are. So, and for many of us, it was a challenge, to transform your approach in terms of your teaching now into a more technological space. I know we are in the fourth industrial revolution, but did we really experience that, as it were? But in any case, let's park that one for now. Now, are you a quick thinker?
Not really. I'm not. You can ask my sons and my husband. I'm the weakest in this house when it comes to general knowledge.
Okay, I want to ask you.
30 seconds.
I'm going to ask you three, not riddles, but let's call it riddles. Okay, the first one is,
okay,
what is easy to get into but hard to get out of?
Trouble.
There we go. Trouble. That's the one. Right. Second one. What is always in front of you but you cannot see it?
In front, I see the ring light in front of me, but I can see that. My future.
There we go. And really, I didn't tell you to give you the answer, eh? So I don't know how you're getting this.
No, it didn't.
Okay, last one. What is so fragile that saying its name will break it? It's so fragile that saying its name will actually break it.
No, pass.
Silence.
Wow, quite. You quite.
Quite. Okay, Doc, that was just a little icebreaker to get us to set the mood for us for the rest of the conversation. Okay, so let's get into the nuts and bolts of why we're here this evening. Now, your area of expertise, as we said earlier, lies in the area of teacher development and support provided to novice teachers. Why did you decide to focus on that area specifically?
Okay, so like I told you, in 2010, I started teaching at a Alcine school. By the way, it was the 6 most beautiful years of my life. And I think my colleagues will agree with me who are currently there. And like I said, I started with my honors then. And, it was never part of my plan to get a PhD in education. It was just, I just wanted to get out of the school system. So I thought, let me empower myself and get a qualification, because most of my peers then already had their honors. So like I said, I did my honors in school management, but I just knew it isn't for me. And what I wanted to get to is when I started with my master's, I started getting this passion for teaching those learners with special educational needs. And I then focused on teaching strategies for learners with social behavioral problems. So that was the thesis, my master's thesis was all about. But it was more than just study for me. It was really, I saw teachers coming in and myself, because I never had special training. I didn't have specialized training to work with those kids. And there is a reluctancy out there to work with special needs children and to be inclusive. And that to me is a huge problem, and we can talk about that again. But I then focused on teaching strategies for learners with social behavioral problems. And that is when my love for teaching strategies and developing teachers to become the best teachers that they can be. And then, yes, so my natural inclination was always to take teachers under my wing. And I was always only a post-level 1 teacher. And you know what it's like when you're a post-level 1, you don't get a lot of clout, you know?
Yeah.
So sometimes you overstep your boundaries a little bit. But for me, it was a natural thing. Take teachers under my wing and to tell them, listen, it's going to be okay. You know, this is what you do. This is, look out for best practice. Look at ways and means that you can change that maybe. So that was my role, and it started there. And so when I did my last qualification, I just went into it, and I actually developed a mentoring model for teachers for support, because that is lacking. The support for our teachers when they are done at university. And yes, and so my love for teachers and so my whole life revolves around teachers and developing them into, like I said before, into the best version of a teacher that they can become.
I love the mentoring model aspect. I take myself back to when I entered the classroom for the very first time as a first year, or even, let me take you back to when I was my first year as a student. My eerste 6 maanden van onderwijsstudies, you almost felt like you knew it all. Nobody could tell you anything because you learned all these new words and you came home and you voel volleerd. Né? And then you complete your studies and you enter the real space. And you suddenly realize, oh my goodness, this is completely different to what I've been, not necessarily everything, but it was a rude awakening. And so my question to you is, does the current teaching training module prepare the teachers adequately or enough for the real classroom situation?
That's a tricky one to ask an education lecturer. So yes, Lee, I don't think anyone is 100% prepared for any vocation or for a profession for that matter. And for teachers, it's no different. And I was thinking about even my first, I only taught for 6 years, and then I thought to myself, no, I didn't sign up for this, you know, and I went out of teaching because I felt I was very young still. But I had the same rude awakening, and for me, I just didn't see myself in there. So I left teaching. But to come back to your question, teaching, and have you ever thought about that? Teaching is the only profession where a newly qualified person has to step into management of 30 to 60 people. We never think about that you know, and you are not always, you cannot be 100% fully prepared. I think it's once you stand in front of those kids, they look at you like a cat has just dragged you in, or you know, they show you you don't deserve their respect, and that, you know, then it is only then that you go through that fiery furnace, and then you get to decide, how am I going to circumvent around this? How am I going to work out a strategy? And it's not just a one size fits all. So it's different strategies and plans that you have to work around in order to really find your space and your place as a professional. And that is, to me, what shapes and molds a teacher. It's when you really start developing mechanisms of dealing with things like unruly behavior, of working in overcrowded classrooms. University cannot prepare you for that as much as we want to. For me, fortunately, I came out of basic education only a few years ago. So I'm very much a teacher. I think some of my university students told me I'm too much of a teacher. But that's because I wanted them to see, this is how you are going to stand in front of your class. And these are the things that you're going to be having to deal with. So yes, we can only provide them with the tools. We can provide them with the tools, we can send them out. And what I noticed is, and we need to talk about that, is the assessment, the way that these students are assessed. If I go and assess a student and I give them 56, it is like I've committed the biggest sin ever. We are so focused on marks, and it comes from the school system. We focus on marks, and our learners get into that thing. Our students go there as well. And so, you give feedback, but they're not really interested in the feedback. They're interested in their mark. And for me, that is a real problem. And we need to move past that, where they really want to immerse themselves within the culture of the school where they do the teaching practice, where they really go into the classrooms and see, I don't want to teach like that, or I see something in that teacher that I don't like. So for me, the preparation, I think, and I can only speak for myself, I try to make it as relevant, contextually relevant as possible, so that, to tell them this is what happens in the school setting. So yeah, I don't know if we can 100%, and I don't think any professional for that matter can tell you that they're 100%. But I think the universities are trying their best, especially with education.
There's also the another dynamic, and I mean, if we look at the schools, for example, you have so let's take. And okay, let me not mention the names of the tertiary institutions, but every institution or various institutions that offer teacher training, but the quality of the teacher training program and may be different. And so the type of student that they produce at the end of their 4 years or so might also be a different student based on the type of training that they've received. Does that play a role?
Look, you're talking about a type of student. It's very, very difficult because who do you get in the first place?
Okay.
Do you understand? Our students are not, for me, they're not screened. We accept students based on numbers and based on, I think there's a point system. But we don't really go in and interview them, and because everybody wants an education. And so also there's that notion that teaching is easy. An easy course to do. So they come into teaching hoping and thinking that it's easy. But answer your question, I have also once told one of my classes, we might be sitting with pedophiles now in our lecture rooms. We might be sitting with murderers in our lecture rooms. We don't know who we take in. And that is why I told you, we can only do what we can. We cannot change the personalities of our teachers. We cannot change the nature. We can try and really, like I have an open door policy for consultations when students come to me with the problems and challenges. But there's just so much that we can do, and I'm grateful for the support services on campus. I mean, they are wonderful with what they are doing. But yeah, we cannot guarantee the kind of person that we send out. We can only equip them. And you can buy tools at the hardware stores, but the tools only become useful once you use it in a DIY project. So yeah, you have to become a teacher.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you touched on that support issue because my next question was going to be, there's a view that the CAPS curriculum ignored the context of the learner by and large. And so that same learner enters tertiary institution to pursue a teaching degree. And so so my question was going to be, is there an attempt to, within the teacher training program, to address the contextual factors of students as they are from the diverse backgrounds? And so you touch on the issue of counseling and all of that. Is there anything further that you want to expand on that one?
Yeah, look, I don't want to go to a field that's not really mine, but there's like I said, there are enough, or for me, it's very adequate. The support services, many times students do not want to make use of that. But there are support services, and like I said, the nature of us being teachers is that we are social workers, we are nurses, you know, and it's the same, it continues in higher education as well. You don't lose that role. So we try as far as possible to accommodate all our students. But like I said, there are services which are available, support services for them.
That is fantastic, because I keep on saying to even my colleagues, given the type of work that we do, you cannot give what you don't have. So you must see to the human capital first in order to produce, you know, irrespective of the profession and the sector that you find yourself in. Now, Doc, let's quickly touch on COVID-19. And you know, we've covered it extensively over the time, and so but I need to touch on it now. How do you think the educational landscape post COVID-19? What will that look like from a teacher training point of view? Now, and let's speak about, is there need for psychosocial support to be a compulsory module in the teacher training component?
By all means, yes. I think we have all gone through so much trauma, and I told somebody the other day, there's going to be a lot of psychological healing that's going to have to take place, because people are traumatized, you know, to say the least. Some people have lost. I mean, you open Facebook, you open Google the news, you just see devastation, people dying and people losing loved ones. And there is a greater need now more than ever for greater understanding in the way how we conduct our professional relationships. So it starts there. It starts with colleagues. It starts with colleagues understanding one another. And yes, we are going to have to relook the whole education system. I mean, we cannot continue as per normal. And I think we're going to touch on it a little later. How did we make provision for our students who are not able to do what we are doing now? So yes, I would say definitely we have to consider every possible angle to equip our students with the necessary skills to go out there and to work with these learners, and also ourselves. We need to look after our mental health as teaching professionals as well. But yes, to answer your question, we most definitely need a module. Maybe it can link in with psych pedagogy. Sielkundige pedagogiek. Ek praat mos nou Afrikaans, so yeah, I think it can link in there, but it needs to be very specific and very relevant to this trauma that we've all gone through.
Yeah. Now, I'm assuming that there's been a disruption in the learning program at the institution where you're working, and so how was CPG able to manage this challenge? Were the students able to access the online learning resources? Were you guys able to discharge your duties? Talk to us about that.
Oh, it was hectic. And looking back now, I mean, it really, you know, at the point where you want to cry, to say, I want to go back to campus rather than work from home, because it really, you know, it is not only like when I spoke to psychologists the other night, we are not only worried about ourselves, it's our students that we are worried about. And we are really genuinely, a lot of us, we worry about our students. And so, and that is why I started this channel, because I knew as teachers, we miss our learners. And so, yes, the disruptions were huge. And what we had to do is we had to rethink everything. We had to rethink our way of assessments, because remember, our assessments are planned at the beginning of the year. So the students already had all their assessments in most of our modules. And so we had to go back and rethink. So where you would normally, and especially in education, we would normally have research-based assignments. And you'd want them to do referencing, and you want them to do plagiarism tests and things. We couldn't do that. We had to now model our assessment around the textbook and around notes, because there were students, our students go as far as Springbok, Namibia, as far off places. So many of those people, and I'm not talking about data, I'm talking about internet access.
Yeah.
And I mean, we are going to experience it now with load shedding, where we don't have fiber anymore, where we don't have Wi-Fi.
Sure.
So those students, for me, were the most vulnerable, because yes, a huge number of students could continue and we could go on, and we did all these wonderful courses on Teams and Zoom and Google Classroom, and it was wonderful. I mean, we went from the one course to the other, online and webinar, and it was wonderful to gain that, but our students could not access that.
Yeah.
And so it was fantastic how our department worked. I mean, we went from having those things available, Blackboard and all of that learning management system, to doing voice notes. So for me, it worked. And for our students, that is the feedback that we receive, that our voice notes that send them on WhatsApp. So I do 5-minute work voice notes along with my notes. We printed out notes, and we, and I don't want to get into much about the workings at the university, because I'm not speaking on their behalf.
Okay.
But we printed packs for our students that were couriered to them, so that they don't miss out. And so many of them said that from time to time they can access WhatsApp. So the voice notes along with their notes then, they could then access that. And we put it on the learning management system, of course. But yes, that is how we really try to accommodate our students. And I really feel for them, because, and we also must now have the open door policy of phone me. You know, my WhatsApp is so busy because I have to accommodate our students now. I can't say, no, WhatsApp is not for you.
Yeah.
So, so we try to stay there, to let them know that we are there. I, for one, try to contact them at least once a week.
Yeah.
Because it's hectic.
So there is so there is a sense of connectedness still between lecturers and students. Yeah.
Yes,
and in terms of the courses that were planned to be that were scheduled to be completed at the end of this year, are we still on track in terms of that, or has there been some changes to that effect? Has there been some curtailment, or is there a flow over into the following year? Just very briefly.
Yeah, we are. They are still busy. Management is still busy with talks around teaching practice. That you can understand is a huge problem. I mean, we can have them send videos to us, but it's not really the classroom situation. So we have to emulate. So yeah, they are working at the moment as we speak. They are working around a plan on how are we going to do that. Obviously, our exit level students, I don't work with them. I work with 1st to 3rd years.
Okay.
So our exit level students, they also have a plan that they're working on. But in terms of education, for instance, we will meet all the requirements for this year.
All right. Now, Doc, I read, according to the Department of Basic Education, there's about 16 or more than 16,000 teachers. And I think that figure is growing by the day, or that suffers from comorbidities, underlying medical condition, and as a result, they're working from home. Now, there's a political party that has recently called on final year students to assist at undercapacitated schools during the lockdown period. Now, you're working with students on a daily, 1st, 2nd, 3rd year, and then your, what do you call, exit level students. I'm assuming those are the 4th years. Do you think that is a good idea to send them into schools to assist where there is under-resourced or understaffing due to comorbidities?
Lee, it's like the tricky question. Will you send your child to school? Will you as a teacher go into the schools? Look, I don't think it's a good idea to go back to schools as such. And I don't know. It's like with any case of are you going back? Do you think it's a good idea to go back? They must decide for themselves.
Okay.
Us as an institution, I don't know what our stance is on that. But personally, for me, if students, if they feel they need the money, or if they must really make a decision for themselves on this one.
Let me ask you this one. So as Dorothy, the parent, if you've got an exit level year student as a son at one of the institutions, and he or she or the son was asked to go into the schools, what would you as a parent have advised your son?
Lee, I don't even want my sons to ride bicycles. They're 20 odd years old. Okay. So yes, I'm as a protective mother, I would not, I would say no.
So no prices then for guessing what your answer would be if I were to ask you, Doc, do you think schools should be open or closed at this stage? Just a yes or no.
Just a yes or no.
Just a yes
you don't ask an academic yes or no. Look, I am for school closures, but what about our vulnerable kids for whom I think, and we spoke the other day about it, social services and basic education, they have to come together now and see how are we, because yes, we want to say the school is not for babysitting and the school is not for this and this, but that is the nature of our communities in South Africa, that we have to cater for those kids. So my question is, what are we going to do? What about them? What about our children?
Okay.
What's going to happen to them?
Is that not the social development issue though? I'm just posing the question to you.
And that is why I said, that's why I said. So there needs to be a collaborative efforts now between education and social services to say, how are we going to accommodate these? You see, and it's, so it's a tricky situation.
No, I appreciate that, and there's no right or wrong answers here. And at this stage, I just want to acknowledge everybody who's tuned in so far, and that's why I can't mention everybody. There's quite a number of you, but welcome, colleagues. Welcome, everybody who's joined us. Tina, Alicia, and all that. Alicia's at CPT. She's in the admin department at the Mowbray campus. I don't know if she's still there or if she remembers me in any case. But and then Bernadette is tuning in from Roosendaal, Delft. Wesley Newman watched. Principal at Heathfield, Shia Matthews, Randbush East, good evening. Chantal Daniels, fourth year foundation phase final CS student at Mowbray campus at Chantal. Hi there. And there's a number of you guys that are tuned in. Shia Matthews, hi to you. Kaylin Hermanis, Lazan Janssen, NTA, a recipient in, I think in 2015 or 16, around about there. And there's quite a number of you. My apology if I cannot mention everybody, but thank you for the positive feedback. Contextually relevant like that. Thank you, Shyam. Wesley says this platform is godsend. It's especially informative for a newly qualified teacher such as myself. Thank you for the insightful and thought-provoking conversation. But thank you, sir. We appreciate
He's also one of my students.
We appreciate your heart and your sharing freely. Denzel, a friend of the page, he's the life coach. Welcome, Denzel. Eddie says it's very informative, and there's a number of you that is making contributions here. So thank you so much. Okay, as we draw the conversation to an end almost. Now, as a leader, as a lecturer, as a leader in the educational space, how do you remain motivated during this time, or how would you motivate your students from afar?
Okay, so by nature, I am an optimist who believe in maintaining a positive mental attitude, not only for my own sanity, and people, we need to look after ourselves, but also for those around me, because remember, we don't live for ourselves. It's our loved ones. It's my 83-year-old mother. It's my sons. It's my husband. So I want to be that beacon of hope, but never at the cost of myself. So during level 5, I felt emotionally drained and demotivated. But what I do as a person is when I feel like that, I get something, and I am a sucker for challenges, and so I go for anything. And The channel to me was my saving grace. It was something that took my mind off this whole COVID thing. Because remember, I was inside for 3.5 months. I went nowhere for 3.5 months. My stoop, sometimes I went to sit on the stoop, but otherwise I was in the house. So you are almost bound to feel stress, to start to go in there. So I felt emotionally drained and demotivated. But with the help of my husband, I've got 2 amazing sons, and
I,
I
th-
managed to quickly pull myself together.
I
I
thought you were gonna
managed to
say.
pull
Yeah.
myself.
I thought you were gonna say there for a second that I have 2 amazing husbands.
No, 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 I don't do that.
No, I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Yeah, so then I started this channel. So for me, I want to beg with our teachers, take a break from social media. I think you mentioned the same thing the other day. We need to take a break from the news. I watch the news once a day, and that is only for 10 minutes, and then I walk out when the sport starts, when Arsenal loses or wins. Sorry guys. But yeah, so I stopped Facebooking. That was before the channel. So now I have to engage again. And I started something that could empower myself. I started something that could empower and motivate others and inspire others. And so my need for my own motivation turned into providing that platform for the teachers. So what I would suggest to teachers is look after yourself. We cannot draw water from an empty well. And so you have to keep looking after yourself. And I'm a proponent for making time for what I like. I make time for self-care. I take a spa day. I can't wait for it to really open fully so that I can go. And I spend a lot of time with family. Take time out for your family. Get away from the COVID talks.
Yeah.
Not from Lee's platform, but I mean from the whole day just being engulfed in problems. And so, and now that we're working remotely, I mostly get, I get up at 3 o'clock, for instance, and I then start working. So this is just to tell you how I keep myself motivated. I get up at 3 or 4 because I've got that flexibility now. I work until 8 or 9. It's a whole day's work.
Yeah.
And then I can do whatever. Then I'm open for consultation with students, and I'm open for lessons, and I can actually take a drive out as well.
Yeah.
I know I'm in a fortunate position to work from home.
Yeah.
But what I want to tell our teachers are these few things is we appreciate you. Don't give up. Support one another. Like I said, take a break. Take a break from social media. Take a break from having, and yes, you can have an opinion, but from commenting on everything. I try my best not to, and I have a strong opinion, but I try my best not to, because you get so engulfed in that. And so take up a hobby. Do something that you haven't had the opportunity to do so. Just get away from put your teaching mode off from time to time. Yes, and I think I'm going towards the end now, really. Leave, I can speak to our parents who are wondering about their kids. It's follow your heart. We know our children. And I believe that only you can decide as a parent how you are going to take this forward. And like Mrs. Dawn Peterson said on Tuesday evening, if you do send your children to school, know and make sure that your children are well taken care of. Make sure that the PPE is in place at the schools. And trust them enough, because I think our principals are really, and teachers are really trying their best to make it work, where the schools are open and where they have enough resources to be open. So yeah, Yes, so that is what I want to say, and then also to our students out there. We know this is a scary time, and it's like that for all of us. We miss you. We'd rather be in the lecture rooms. Really, I'd rather be running from the one class to the other class and sit here and worry about our students. So yeah, keep working, stay motivated, and know as your mentors and lecturers that we want the best for you, and we are trying our level best to see you through this year. So yeah, that is my encouragement to everybody out there. But really, look after yourself, stay positive, speak to people. If you need professional help, seek professional help, but do not carry this on your own. That's it.
Dr. Esau, ik heb nog één vraagje gehad, maar eerder nog sommer met
Wat is die vraag?
twee vliegen met één klap. Yeah, you've motivated, you've inspired, you've encouraged. So, you know, I sat and I listened and I thought, yo, that you speak with such warmth. Amper as ek amper my ma geluister het, as mommy wat nou praat met haar kinders. And it's that motherly figures that many of us seek for and yearn for, because many of our learners and our students that enter our space, they grow up in fatherless homes and in motherless homes, and they come from a vast array of backgrounds, and we cannot reach everyone in terms of but the effect that we have on the one or the two, it is if we can effect that positive change and that transformation, then we've done our job. And I for one, like I said, I sat and I thought, you know, you praat me auntie nou met my ma met my, you know, and we only know each other like, well, I won't say no, but let's come say man know for the last couple of weeks, you know, and I already feel that connectedness. And so that can only come from a place of passion. And so thank you for sharing your heart so freely with us tonight. We sincerely, judging by the interaction on the feed here, we've sincerely enjoyed your input here this evening. There's a lot of things that still needs to be unpacked, but unfortunately our time is fast spent. I like what you mentioned earlier about, you know, balance the scale. Social media, as much as it has its benefits, one needs to filter what you take in. And so, yes, it's time that we start steering the conversation in a different direction now. COVID talks, we've exhausted to a large degree now. Yes, there's still some things to be said and all of that, but I think it's time that we sort of shift the gear now or change the location in the GPS and say, okay, so how do we take the conversation into a different direction in an attempt to grow the sector? Because we have the capacity, it's within us. It's if we pull resources together and if we come together on platforms like these, you've created a fantastic platform, Education in Focus, right? So it's focus op die dinge wat ons nie altyd kan op focus. And I love that. This space is one of those spaces where ordinary teachers and lecturers and education sector workers can come freely and share without fear or favor. And thank you for taking part freely into this thing. I really enjoyed it. And I'm hoping I can call you a friend of this platform. And so in future, we're going to call on you again to come and grace us with your presence again once we're in a better space in terms of the lockdown and COVID and all that nonsense. So thank you very much. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Lee, and please do continue. I know you've had a full work day behind you and you must also go rest. But yes, thank you for doing this for our teachers. I think when I saw your platform, it was to me, oh wow. And I saw it after I started, so it looked like I copied, eh? But I think that was just, for me, it was amazing that, and yes, we can work together. So well done on work, you know, on doing a great job, and for providing this. Our teachers lost their voices, you know, like I said to you the other day, and I feel that you are giving it back to them. And thank you so much for this opportunity to have me. I am humbled. Thank you.
Now, look, I don't want to take all the credit. I do work with a small team, so there is somebody behind the scenes who's managing certain stuff for us. So, and
for that person.
I for that person. So thank you very much for the kind words. We appreciate you, and God bless.
Thank you so much.